You're listening to Nexxlegacy.
My man, my man. All right, let's get this thing started right here, right now. This is Charles. I am Branded Madison of Nexxlegacy Radio, and I had this guest, y'all. And I'm telling you, this man is crazy talented, has a lot to look forward to on the upswing of not just his music. We're going to get to know him. We're going to talk to him. We're going to tell him how we feel when it comes to the music and the legacy and everything. So I want to welcome Diamante to Nexxlegacy. What's good, bro?
Hey, what's up, man? Thank you for having me, man. Thanks for having me on.
Man, thanks for taking the time out and not just talking to me and the listeners and the people that will be listening and all that good stuff, but man, I had a chance to listen to, the single you gave me. I had a chance to kind of do some homework on you too, bro. And I got to tell you off top, not only am I impressed, I'm looking forward to what you have to offer to the world, because I always look at it like this, because there's a lot of musicians out there, bro. There's a lot of people out there who are trying to find their way when it comes to trying to have a niche in this system, right? And you got mad talent, bro. Not just mad talent, like you got that it factor about what you do and how you go about doing it, listening to your tracks. So I got to give you credit where credit's due, bro.
I appreciate you taking the time out to listen, man. I appreciate that. I mean, I make the music for people to listen to, and I appreciate you taking the time out.
Man, it's a blessing to be able to get this not just on rotation on Nexxlegacy, but just to be able to hear passion that comes out of your voice, bro. So tell the people that's trying to get to know you for the very first time, how did you get started doing music?
Well, I got started doing music. I actually was a part of a rap group in the 80s. It wasn't nothing like it was too like mainstream or anything like that. It was just like, that's how I got my niche. I was a DJ at first. I wasn't ever a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
I was a DJ. That's how I got my started. And that entered me into like the producer stage. And then I always wrote. And this was like things we did when we were younger, coming up, starting little rap groups and and then my man one day was like, "Hey, man, we should start singing." And I already kind of had some singing talent, but, I never thought that, that was something that we didn't do when we was 13, 14 years old, So that's when I started doing this when I was 14. So it was mainly like, my guy was like, "Hey, man, we can get a lot of girls if we start singing," so that's kind of like the reason why you do it when you're that age.
Hey, who you telling, bro? I got you, man. I get it. We always trying to impress somebody, right? I get that. But what was it? Was it like a song, or what was a moment in music that clicked in your mind at a young age where it was just like, you know what? This is all I want right now.
Growing up in Philadelphia.
Okay.
The thing about it is that we had the Philly sound, Philly soul sound.
Yeah.
Growing up, and I'm a mid-'70s kid, so I grew up in the middle of Philadelphia International Records. Teddy Pendergrass, who to me is the GOAT performer. I had Patti LaBelle. I was raised on the block that she was raised on. Patti LaBelle, Washington Avenue, Philadelphia, West Philly, Southwest Philadelphia. So, man, soul music is synonymous with Philadelphia. So just the backdrop of my life, the background, the soundtrack of my life has been R&B. Has been, a later hip hop.
Can you tell the people what does that actually mean to you when you say some of the things that you say? Because to me, what's coming out of your mouth right now is just pure enjoyment of the art form of music, not just soul and R&B and hip hop and stuff like that, but just how it molded and shaped you into what you're trying to do today. Tell people a little bit about how it made you feel when you literally, you running off like Patti LaBelle and, you know what I'm saying, all these greats, Teddy Pendergrass, stuff like that. And there's a lot of great history that comes with a lot of great passionate people doing music, right?
No doubt. So you talking about like I said, Gamble and Huff, we were writers when I grew up. We were as writers, we appreciated the whole diaspora of music. This just wasn't just we knew about the writers. We didn't know just about the artists. We knew about the writers. We knew about the whole Philadelphia sound, the string ensemble. Like, R&B is very synonymous with Philadelphia, with me, like I said, with the backdrop of my life and listening to all those artists. And people always ask me, like, who influenced you? Like, what? And it was a culture. The whole culture, everything influenced me. The color, the clothes, the music, the artists. Everything was so influential. And when you had something to strive for, because it seems like back when it was like excellence. Everything was about excellence,
Right.
And it was about competing, but it was excellence competing. And you always felt like that you always had something to strive for, So it was always good to always keep reaching, you know what I mean? Because no one's ever going to start. You start out the bottom and you keep reaching until you get to that, and if you don't ever get to the top, it's the fact that you keep trying and you got your examples ahead of you, like those artists that I named, as a marking point.
Do you feel like when it comes to the current state of music, because you still have your foot in this industry in terms of how things are played and portrayed and put out there now, do you feel like we still have a chance to evolve when it comes to music and how we market it as well?
It's always a chance to evolve into music. I'm one of the ones that believe that music is in the wrong hands. Like I don't believe that the people is in charge of the sound of music anymore, like we used to be. I don't believe that. I believe that a lot of people have a lot of agendas for the sound of music that we don't particularly, care for. But we understand that those things exist. And I believe that we need to take charge. The people need to take charge of the sound of music. And I believe that we all together can push something that we can appreciate and be happy for in generations to come. Because, the music of today, 20 years from now, just imagine what's going to sound like to the young kids. Like, where is the R&B? Where is it? So 20 years from now, it's going to be crazy for those kids, the back. And that's what we need to be doing. We need to be laying the track work and the groundwork. And I believe that the music is out there.
Yeah.
I believe that the music is out there. I just also believe that just one particular music is taking the forefront.
Yeah. Not only do I believe what you're saying, I'm also encouraged by what you're doing and how you're saying it and how you're putting it out there to the people, because it is important. I just feel like the art, you're right. It's the craft of music and how it's molded and shaped our lives in terms of it made us feel great. It made us feel sad. We go through a breakup situation. We go through a passing, and there's certain levels to how music makes us feel. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, that should be the mission of a lot of people out there, to at least put something out there where it's just your truth. It's your honest view on how you want to be creative instead of trying to sound like somebody else, right?
Exactly. I mean, we're all influenced by other artists. We're all influenced by the culture, but you should also believe in writing your own songs. And if you want to give anybody an example of Wendell, who you are as an artist, you're writing, you're doing your own music. That's the whole thing about it.
Mm-hmm. Diamante's my guest on Nexxlegacy Radio. And back to your music, as far as specific things that you do when you're in the writing phase of what you're trying to do to be able to come out. Like, I'm trying to get into your head right now, bro. Like, what's your motivation for, like, specific songs? Do you need to be in a, feel-good mood to be able to write a feel-good song, or does it just kind of come to you as it comes along when you're in the thought process of putting out, writing out music and getting it out there to the people?
Well, I get my motivations in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I I may hear a beat in my head and I'm beatboxing it all day long, and then next thing you know, I hear a bell, and then it gives me a melody. And sometimes the things around me allow me to put tracks together, just the natural side of me with no instruments, no sitting down, just me walking around. I may be working out or something like that, and something may hit me, and I may have to put the beatbox and the bass line on my phone or whatever, and come back to it, and then sit next to the computer or the keyboard and kind of map it out. You know what I mean? Sometimes I can build tracks like that. Other times I may have a song already written and I have a melody. I already know what the melody is, and I can sit down and compose it, and then create the the music around the melody. There's many different ways to create a track, many different ways to put it together. For me, I get inspired in many different ways. I could be looking at a movie. One of my songs were inspired by a movie, and I was just listening. I was looking at Gothica. If you remember, this is how old this is. This song I wrote called Heaven. I was just looking at the movie, and it was a part of the movie that just caught my ear, and next thing you know, I just started humming it, and then humming it 100 times, and it became a whole melody, and then I made a whole song off of it. Sometimes it works that way. It's almost like a maniac. You're like a maniac. I become a maniac in certain situations.
Wow, that's heavy. I mean, and I think it's inspiring for a lot of us too when we peel back layers of why you do what you do and what came to be when it comes to your origin story as far as how you put things together. Do you find it easier to do writing now as opposed to maybe how it was back in the day when you first kind of got the itch to do it, or is it just kind of comes in waves as you go?
Well, actually, I believe that I don't believe you're a writer if you're not writing about what's going on about the time.
True.
Like, you also can write about love, right? You can write about love. You can write about loss and things of that nature, right? But I don't just write about those things. You know what I mean? I write about whatever's going on at the time. And whatever time you're living in, rather it was in the past, rather it's now, rather in the future, there's always going to be distress. There's always going to be, it seems as though as humans, we're always going through these type of things. So there's always material to write. There's always material to write and relate to the times that you're in. So I believe it's a never-ending cycle of writing. I always say to myself that the best songs have been written, but that's just how I feel. I may not be there in the future when other great songs are written. So it's always a time to write during the times that you're going through and during the times that you're in.
Do you feel that, like, especially when you do take this on and have that itch to want to do things as far as writing, and I always look at it like this, Diamante, you're a futurist. Anything that you peel back, you get pieces of yourself to. Every song you sing, every pen you put to a piece of paper or whatever, and you write, like you're giving yourself to, the next person or whatever. Some people, they don't handcuff their music. Some people want to give it out there to the world or whatnot. So, as far as us, I feel like we're futurists. We can envision how we want life to be when it comes to peace and tranquility and everything else that runs through, people, as far as just kind of having your own, peaceful process in your life and things like that. Do you hear more of it per se when it comes to, like, hey, I'm just trying to strive for peace with my art form, and it's not necessarily about just the here and now? Because I hear it both ways, bro, but at the same time, I would love for people to just keep striving to outdo themselves with who they are and who they want to be and evolve. Because I'm telling you, bro, I'm different than I was like 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And I hope people can take that thing too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a thing that sometimes you could be talking to a person that they're not the same person they were 5, 10 years ago. They may look at things to see life through a kaleidoscope. They may see it differently. And music is a part of that. Music can be like a part of that thing too. It's a maturity. Like some of the things that I used to always consider what I used to do singing poetry. So I always had a mature writing style, because again, in the time when I was writing in the late 80s, mid to late 80s and 90s, the writing was different than it is now. So people would do poetry, and they would say say things to a woman or say things and put it in a way where it wasn't so straightforward. You know, you had to unwrap it. You had to undress it a little bit, you know, in order to get it. And the slicker way, the slicker artist or, you know, or actor or the slicker they put it, you know, the better it was. And you look for those ways, you look for those type of things to do to kind of throw people off. Like, man, look how I'll rephrase this, you know. And it was always, again, that shoots to there was always a reach for excellence to try to outdo one another as far as that, you know, versus now, whereas though, like I said, like if I can listen to the music that I grew up on and be happy. But what's going to happen with these kids now that's not striving for that thing, and 40 years from now, they go to listen to their music and they don't hear that respectable. It's not the respectable legacy. It's not a respectable legacy. It is a legacy, of course, but it's not a respectable legacy that you can look upon and let your grandkids listen and say, hey, listen, this is what we used to do. Like, you know, I believe that art form is lost because I believe that the people that need to have control over the music don't have control over the music.
Right. Diamante is my guest on Nexxlegacy Radio, and you hit a point. Do you think that the lack of control that we have as far as how we can rein this in terms of our music legacy, do you think it's something that can be simply made by putting people, the right people in charge, or is it just being more like self-sufficient in your grind process? Because you're an artist. You have control over what you do, what you say, how you say it, and whatever the case may be. There's others, though, who are catering to a cloud, right? Or they're catering to specific things because they want to follow the trend. Do you feel like we could be able to offset that in a sense in this crazy world we live in, because trending is supposed to be in? Yes,
and because I believe that music is vast, right? There's an abundance of music that and now I believe that we are in the age where you can listen to a lot of music now. There's music that's being pushed. Let's just say, for instance, hip hop. That's the music that, for whatever reason, the powers that be has structured at the top of the pyramid as far as the music, what they're pushing, you know. But that's not the only thing that exists. And people say, oh, R&B is dying, or this is that is dying, or country music. It's not that it's dying. It's just that the people that's in control are pushing a certain genre to be the it factor, and then burying the other genres of music. But that's not the truth at all. If you go into a lot of these places and a lot of these cities, you will hear the music that you're looking for, and it's millions of people that's into the music that you're looking for, and you can find it online, and you can discuss it and join groups about certain music and genres of music online. The internet has opened it up, and the revelation of a lot of gatekeepers falling is also opening up to the very fact that we can listen to other people, other good music, other great artists, other great writers without nobody guarding the post.
I find music is, especially how we listen to it or consume it, it can be a blessing and a curse in a sense. I mean, I feel like we grew up in the 70s, Diamante, where we had to strike down the Tower Records or the Rasputins or somewhere to go get a CD or a tape, or, if we're going backwards, 8-track into a degree. Had to go back. Man, we had to wait in line, bruh. Like, we had to not only do that, and then, when we got the CD or the tape, how proud I was to open that thing up, man, and look and see the credits as far as who was featured, who was a part of it, this, that, and the other. Like, that's just us getting to know not just the artist, but the work they put in order for it to get done. So when we look at it now in 2024, going into 2025 and forever, music is easy. It's easy to consume. It's easy to digest. It's also easy to not appreciate as much, in my opinion. Correct?
I agree with you totally. It's like they took the organic love of it out of it. They took the appreciation. Like you said, you stand in those lines, You're not just popping that tape in. You're looking at the credits. You're looking at everything about it. You're involved into the art. You want to know how this was put together, you know? And that's what we're missing. We're missing the whole love out of it, going to the record stores. And, you know, to me, these things were purposely done, but it really took the fun out of it. It really took the fun out of it, you know, where people could go outside and enjoy one another, network, look, feel, touch each other, you know, talk about the record, talk about, you know, the movie, whatever it is the entertainment was providing. And so they just want to keep us in the house and on these phones, you know, instead of actually going out and enjoying the whole process of and talking about the experience.
And I think having an artist such as yourself to double back to all of this is going to be important. I'm not, you know, putting any pressure on you to be able to pave the way for everyone, but I think as passionate as we talk about music and how influential that it is and how important it is and will always be in the history of all lives, I think it's important to not just address, but also come up with solutions or certain things like that where people can say, hey, you know what, I was listening to these two guys on Nexxlegacy Radio, and they were coming up with good suggestions in terms of how we can be able to give that thought process more life. So I'm going to ask you, Diamante, when it comes to like this, and when it comes to not just you being an artist, but to even inspiring artists that's out there now, what can you tell them about just being in their lane and being passionate about what it is that they want to do and who they want to be? Talk to them.
Well, I'm going to say this, though. I'm going to say the first thing to do is, in my opinion, this is just coming from me, is to honor the ones that paved the way for you. That is very important, in my opinion, to hold up the artists that you're inspired by, the ones that paved the road, whoever your GOAT may be. You know, you honor them and you try to follow the way, the blueprint. There's a blueprint for how this thing is to be done. And I think it's important for people to follow that blueprint. Everybody can't be artists. You know, if you want to be in the music business or you want to be into the music, I mean, you know, you could be a producer, you could be a writer. There's many different jobs in the music. And I believe that if one can stick to their strengths, you know, and actually do the things that they're great at, and everybody can be like an ensemble, like an orchestra. It could be the orchestration of everyone doing what their strong points are. Then I believe that we can get it. People should pick up an instrument again. Like there's a lost art where they made these drum machines and these keyboards, and no one wants to play an instrument anymore. That is a lost art. Like you're gonna have a bunch of people in 40 years, like I had to keep using this reference, that they're not even going to know how to play a violin. It's going to be an amazing thing just to hear someone play a violin when that was a regular thing, you know, at one time, where people, if you heard a violin, it was because it was coming from a person playing it, not from a synthesizer. You know, it's like to me, that's the lost art. Instruments. People learn how to play instruments, and they're coming together to make songs and make pieces. And I would love to see that happening. I love to see that invoked back into the music society.
Bruh, that's solid. And not only that, man, going on some writing thing, right? Because, you know, like my daughter's 22 now, but they took cursive writing out in 4th grade for her, bruh. Remember the days you just write those love letters to the little young girls back in the day that, you know, would drop them little things in there, man? People don't do that stuff no more, man. Why? You know, I will always remember the first letter I got from a girl that crushed on me, man. Come on.
Yeah, those are the experiences. Yeah, those are the experiences that we had.
Diamante, the first time that I ever put a cassette tape in and recorded, like, you know how we had to do it back in the day, bro.
Yes, I do. Yep.
We had to record, stop, record, put a little mixtape together. Come on.
It was great. It was great times, man. It really was.
Come on. Getting a little bit of that back is important. And back to your music, when it comes to, like, the tracks you have and the catalog you have right now, what are you working on right now? What's out there for the people to be able to kind of tap in and listen to when it comes to you And, we kind of already know why you do what you do, but why do you continue to do what you do? You've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah, I have been doing it for a minute. And the thing that drives me is, again, like I said, creating a respectable legacy and catalog for my family. Again, the music want to last longer than I am. And I definitely want to, the first thing is that my family, like my children, my grandchildren, those people, I like to leave a great legacy for them. And that's why I continue to do it, and just for the love of it, because I love to do it. Like I always make a reference like this. I say, Michael Jordan, he not that I'm on the level of Michael Jordan, but I'm just saying, he doesn't play in the NBA no more. But I'm pretty sure he shoots baskets. I'm at the level where, as far as me, is that, I still do it, but I don't do it like I used to. When I was a lot younger, but I hadn't got a resurgence because I feel like, wow, ever since like the whole thing has been going on with the industry, I was like, this may be a great time to now try to attack, get on stage and try to make a difference, to see if they allow my brand of R&B in, now that it's not so cluttered, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So I just felt like I've always done it for the love of it. And now it's like I'm having fun with it now. It's not so much pressure that it was before that I put on myself. A lot of the pressure that was put on that I put on myself. But now I seem to be having a little fun with it now. I'm doing it out of the love, and I'm building a nice little catalog to leave, again, for my family to do things with the tracks. Because, all these things are like, legally, BMI, the paperwork is done. So I'm always trying to do something with the tracks, soundtracks. There's movies, there's video games, there's a lot of things that, you could do with the tracks, especially the good ones.
I feel that, especially with what you got going on, and I keep hearing you mention, like, family. You want to make sure that you leave something. You hit something very important about the fact that this music will be here when you're not here. Everything that kind of will mold and shape a man or a person, whoever, into, the kind of person that they could be proud of. Do you feel like with your catalog right now, that's still ongoing because your legacy is not yet written fully, do you feel like you've done the best you can be to get the music that you need out to these people?
Well, to answer that question honestly, there was a block on how fast and how I can move the music.
Yeah.
It was always a block because not being able to be compromised, and trying to move in the areas that I was trying to move in, was kind of like almost like walking in quicksand.
Right.
You're moving, but you're not moving at a pace that you would like to move to compete with the artists that have made agreements and allowed themselves to be compromised to a degree to move their music. You know what I mean? So that's been my main challenge, that to try to move around that. And that's what's been really hard to do, to try to move around that. When you find out in this business that you could be a great artist, but it may be who you are aligned with versus how talented you are. I believe that we're all talented, but it's all about sometimes what you're willing to do to move yourself past your running mate or past your peer, your musical peer. So, that is a whole lot of that going on. And that's when I'll go back to what I'm saying is I believe it's a great time for R&B, my brand of R&B, to try to get out there now and see how far I can move it now. Whereas though I'm having a little fun with it now versus being a little uptight, I might be able to network a little better and help move R&B forward. Not just my R&B, but somebody else who coming behind me, maybe that's going to have way more longevity than I will. Ready to push this thing because I believe that it's still out there. I just want to try to get it to push it up a little bit more, to run parallel with hip hop like it used to.
Right. And that would be great to see and hear for years and years and years, even after we're gone. Diamante is my guest, Nexxlegacy Radio. and a couple more questions, man. Like, well, I won't ask this one. I'll wait till later. But I'm gonna ask you this one. It's kind of important as far as when it comes to just kind of your vibe, right? So I always ask people what are their favorite decades of music, and I know it's just like trying to pick which kid you like the most, but I'm gonna put you on the spot, Diamante. What's your best music decade?
The 70s.
Okay, because
Yeah. Again, I don't even think I can escape that because I was born in '75.
I got you.
So right in the middle of that, right in, that's some good. You're talking from '70 to '80. That's some really, really good monumental records that was made in that time, and it laid a lot of. Well, we know that a lot of samples and stuff that was used in the '60s and the '70s is how hip hop, like grasped onto and formulated the way you listen to it through the samples, and a lot of those samples came through digging in crates from the '70s. So if I had to pick a decade, it would be the '70s.
I got you. I feel like you and I are right in lockstep with it. I always felt the '80s was a decade of diversity, right? Like the '80s was, and you probably know this what I'm feeling, right? Like today, I mean, there can't be a movie you haven't looked at or watched that didn't have some kind of song that was attached to it that made you remember the movie, not because of the part of the movie, but the song because of the movie. You know what I mean? Like, it was a little different back in the day. Like, you put on something anywhere, you'd be like, oh, that came from that movie or whatever. Again, it goes back to an attachment, a feel, a love. The 70s was like that as well, because Saturday Night Fever, man, you throw that thing in there, it's just a wrap, right? Like, all kinds of off that soundtrack, bro. I get it.
It defined the decade. When those kind of movies defined the decade. When you heard those, like, wow. And the fact that you brought up Saturday Night Fever, that's a great example of a disco decade. That whole movie, it just, you know what I mean? It takes you back to that time. If you ever wanted to know what that time was like, you can throw that movie on and you can get that.
That's it. That's right. You know what I mean? Like, it's a blessing, man, that we're able to kind of see this in. It is also a blessing to be able to see its resurgence in a lot of different ways and a rebirth when it comes to that. And, one other question before we wrap is, like, your thoughts on radio and the importance of it. Because I know we have online radio. There's a lot of different ways to be able to stream things as well. So what are your thoughts on it overall?
Radio is very needed. DJs is very needed. The DJ and the radio combination is how records were broken. The DJ is so important to link in with a radio station because of that reason. A lot of small radio stations, not, from back in the day. I mean, even James Brown had his own radio station, but that's how you broke records. You know what I mean? The DJ, they play the songs at the parties, and then it circulates to the radio station, and bam, there we is making the decisions on what's hot and what's not. You know what I mean? That goes. That's part of our culture. Radio and DJ, that's a part of the whole culture of how you break records. So I believe that has to stay in place in order to. I just think it has to behave in a manner that is organic and that is more as though the people are pushing the records. And the DJ and the radio station becomes the delegator. They become, hey, listen, the people is talking right now, and we're listening, and this is what they're demanding, and this is what we're pushing type thing. So radio is needed, most certainly, 100%.
Yep. No, I'm with you, man, because you can't really do too much without it. Not only that, having the control to be able to have or play specific songs. I remember Mariah Carey, when I first heard her, I was in, high school or whatever it was, right? I was in 1990 or whatever the case may be. I remember hearing her for the very first time on the radio, and I was like, man, I need to see if they could run that back, just because I've never heard, opposite, Whitney blew my mind, don't get me wrong, but Mariah caught me to a moment, and I was in school that day. I was like, man, give me a phone. I need to call because I need to hear it again because I can't believe when I heard Vision of Love for the first time, right?
Yeah, that was a great record. It was.
some of those moments, man, come with radios. You know how it is, bro. Like we can go nostalgia all day, but just the thought that you can be able to call and have an impact and have these kind of things go on, man, it's important. It doesn't matter the stream of how it is. It's just radio is an integral part of how we evolve when it comes to the music and things like that too. But where can they find you, Diamante, as far as, all platforms? What can be done in order for people to not only get to know you, but to stream your music and to celebrate the music of what you do? How can they find you?
The issue that with me, and I'm glad that we're going to be able to touch on this really quick, is that I am on all platforms. But a lot of the music that's on the platforms, I got like a Dave Chappelle situation going on. I'm not getting paid for any of the music because it was stolen and shared throughout a lot of different. So, and there was a Spotify. I don't know if you heard about it. The Spotify, they're actually being sued, class action sued, for $100 million for the theft of these artists and sharing information. And they're actually in the New York Supreme Court holding proceedings, about this very case as we speak, meaning in this moment in time. And I am a part of that class action suit. So I'm kind of waiting for that thing to kind of settle before I start doing anything online again. But I've been actually putting my thing out as far as performing on IG and Facebook. And I'm on IG is D.Amante, and then Facebook is Diamante the Artist. And that's what I'm on, and that's how I've been promoting my music. And when I do my live performances, I've actually been doing it through email. If I can get emails, and then I've just been shooting my my small commercials and just trying to do it to where so it can't get stolen. Because I've been a lot of my things, a lot of early stuff, and a lot of things I've been putting online, it's been stolen. So again, I'm pushing a new single now. That's out now that's called The Edge of Your Seat. And the way I'm getting that out now is through email. So if I can find email, then I can push the record, and I'm actually pushing that record actually right now as we speak. And if I can say my email address, if anybody's really interested in any of my music, my email address is d.amante@yahoo.com. And it's at d.amoate@yahoo.com. And that's how, you email me if you're interested in the music. I can get the music out to you, and, we can work it that way.
There you go. You heard it from my man right here, and I could totally respect the process of how you want to make sure that you get your art form created, celebrated, and propped up there for not just, the consumption that you want the people to have, but also the financial rights to what you do and how you do it as well. I think that's extremely important for people to stand up straight up and be proud of what they did, but also want to recoup the benefits of it. Because Diamante, let me say this before we wrap as well, is a lot of people think that a 3-minute track takes 3 minutes, but you and I know the truth. It doesn't.
Exactly.
It takes a little longer than that, bro. A little longer than that.
It takes a lot longer than that. Yeah, it does. Take some blood, take some sweat, some tears.
Yeah. Yes. And I think it should be, again, celebrated, man. Like, I just think that a lot of people just don't get, don't cloud that misconception up with that stuff, man, at the end of the day. And, man, I in closing, man, I want to just not just thank you for not just taking the time to hang out with me and, the listeners and the people that will be listening, but just the fact that you have not given up on music when music has a way of, fading in of our lives, just like relationships. It can be toxic, but then you still want it. It could be a blessing, and then it could be a curse. It could be this, or it could be that, but you still have maintained the ship of still persistence when it comes to what you do, and you got to be commended, bro.
Hey, listen, man, can I get some shout-outs before we get off?
Absolutely.
All right. But to answer that question, but definitely, of course, because I bring love. And to me, love is R&B, and that's what I've always written about. So I try to bring that to the forefront, and I'm always write about love in the times that we're in, and that's what I believe R&B represents. So that's what I represent. And I also definitely like to shout out my cousin Birdman for allowing me to meet you and giving me this opportunity at Nexxlegacy. I'm loving it and loving your audience, man. You know, just definitely want to give shout outs there. Clark Atlanta University, that's where my daughter is. She's in there. I definitely want to shoot a shout out to her. She's trying her best down there. She's a freshman down there. I love you, baby. At KDW Catering, Prescription Funk, Diamante LLC, combined with NKE, Raquel Brown and PH Balance Trucking, all my Philly family, all my Phoenix family, and all my followers here, and all my followers, hopefully, that, you know, new game followers that I get from you. Man, I'm loving it all. Hopefully we can push this R&B and push the love, Gene.
Man, that's all we do, man, is definitely make sure we do what we can to pay it forward. And I think it's important for, you know, like-minded individuals to be able to share the wealth and be transparent and be vulnerable and open enough to let everybody in. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
really
sir.
want to change the narrative in how we think about not just progression, but putting that into action as well. So, Diamante, can't thank you enough, bro.
Appreciate the opportunity, brother.
All right. I'll be at you, man.
Okay, man. Have a nice one.
Podcasters Unite. Ready to dive into something awesome? Welcome to the Nexxlegacy podcast, your #1 station for the people. Here we bring you stories, interviews, and conversations that matter. Whether you're commuting, cooking, or just chilling, Nexxlegacy has got your back. Join our community of listeners who crave insightful content and good vibes. From trending topics to hidden gems, we cover it all with a touch of humor and a whole lot of heart. So, plug in those earphones, hit that subscribe button, and let's make today a little brighter together. Tune in now to the Nexxlegacy podcast, where every episode feels like home.